Sitting by the Fire, a podcast on ancestral wisdom, medicine, heritage, and transformation by Anna Solyom. Hello, very good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you or when you are watching us. And this is the next chapter of Sitting by the Fire. Today, my guest is my dear colleague from Ancestral Medicine, Litha Booi. I said well your name?
Yes.
Thank you, Litha, for being here today. It's truly a gift to have you here. And it's actually getting like a habit as well, but I truly believe that you can present yourself best. So would you please present who are you today?
Yes, of course. I'd be honored. So my name's Litha Booi. I'm from South Africa. So culturally, I'm from the Xhosa tradition, and I come from a long lineage of healers, of teachers, of entrepreneurs, and kings and queens, and beautiful ritualists and ceremonialists. So I've been privileged enough to kind of walk that path, the path of initiations into my own cosmology, as well as many different cosmologies, just to learn about the ways of spirit and truly what God has destined for all of us. I've got a strong passion kind of for helping people to realign to their, to their life's calling or life's purpose and their destiny. As well as just working deeply with their ancestors to tune into the finer details that help them to align. So in South Africa, we have this ideology called Ubuntu, and Ubuntu is the ideology that, all things are interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. So we work from what the West would call an animistic framework. So we are connected to the land because the land is me. I am the land and the land is me. We are connected to the animals. I am the animals and the animals is me. We're connected to the humans. I am the humans and the humans are me. But most importantly, we're connected to all spirits in between that exist within those 3 dimensions or 4 dimensions that I've just mentioned. So truly a way of operating in this world that allows us to feel deeply rooted in spirit, because we are spirit and spirit is all around us. And that's pretty much been my framework. I teach people how to remember their true essence, their true beauty, their magic, their miraculous and powerful ways of interacting with the all, for there's messages in everything. And everything communicates at all times. So it's been such a privilege for me to walk a path of great remembrance, but to teach others to remember too. Yeah.
Absolutely. To remember is like becoming whole again in some ways, I think. I really love that English word. And I love what you said, that spirit is all around us. So why do we need so desperately? Because I think we need that desperately, that spirit connection that the West would like to ignore. What does it offer us when we are connected with spirit?
From an African perspective, there's so many ways of answering that question. But the first one is to really look at frameworks that allow us to operate at the highest of our peak. If we look at the world today and the way that it is, we're finding that nature is speaking loudly. There's fires, there's devastating tornadoes, there's earthquakes, there's so much that is happening. So nature is communicating with us largely. And then if we look at the humans, I mean, there's just so much that is happening. Politically, this world is at a destructive place. There's just so much that is not right. And then if we look at, from a spiritual perspective as well, one would say that there's a lot of imbalance. And so from an African perspective, we would always returning back to sources, truly looking at what is in front of us and saying, what is happening? So the first concept is truly that of balance and harmony. We look to spirit to provide us with balance and harmony. When we see the imbalances that are present within society right now, we would then go to the spirits and say, how can we reclaim the parts that are lost, which introduces our second concept, which is that of Sankofa, Sankofa is this ideology that when you are truly looking at building a future moving forward, you have to stop for a moment and look back at what has worked. And of course, modern day, because so much has changed, I always say Sankofa is not the idea of fetching that and bringing it forward, it's truly examining what worked, because there are things that we could fetch that did not work. And so, what we learn through these concepts of balance and harmony and fetching that which has worked, utilizing it for the present moment so that our future can become better. Concepts like Ubuntu, for instance, let's fetch that because that was a concept and a principle that has worked where the land was thriving, the animals were thriving, the people were thriving, the ancestors were thriving, all of spirit was thriving. So, the significance of really reconnecting to spirit is tuning into not only the entirety of it all, the wholeness of all creation, but your individual creation's purpose, your soul's purpose, your own individual destiny, which is interlinked and interconnected and interdependent on all. So when things are not right outside, I always say to people, then go into yourself, tap into the spirits and the ancestors, and find out what is not right within you and clear that so that you can be in alignment and operate in a way where you bring forward your beauty, your gifts, your magnificence, and your power so that you can transform the world on a macro level sometimes, and on a micro level and macro level. It
Yeah.
depends on what your destiny is. So I truly do believe that without the connection of spirit, we would be moving towards a more and more destructive path.
I agree with you, Lita. I think spirit is like the heart of everything. So it's
Mm,
like just like the air we are breathing.
mm-hmm,
How
mm,
can someone say that there is no spirit when spirit is?
mm, mm, mm,
In a way of putting that. Um,
mm.
can I ask you something more
Yeah,
personal? Yeah.
yeah, go for it.
So did you grow up with a ancestrally resourced framework or with a very spiritual home?
So I grew up in a space where I'm blessed to have come from a background of um, earth honoring, spirit tending ways. So we have a lot of systematic structures of ritual and ceremony that are consistently happening. But I won't lie to you and say that I was really a strong part of it. I literally had to decolonize myself in many ways. I had to unlearn many things so that I could relearn and re enter into this space, because I was truly striving for the Western ways of being. When I say Western, I mean just the frameworks of what society deems as success, just the frameworks of what society deems as the norms. And culturally, a lot of people are not um, really tied into the aspects of ceremony and ritual, but also spirit, spiritual work. And so I had to relearn all of that. And my ancestors called me back into all of that, because they could see that my trajectory was falling out of alignment with my own destiny. And so it's taken me, geez, I don't know, two decades or so of really letting go, unlearning, so that I could relearn to become. You know, even though all of that was all around me, it doesn't mean just because it's around you, you can connect with it. You
Yeah,
know, and
absolutely.
so my reawakening or remembrance came through several initiations that I went through, in dreams and experiences, uh, in nature. I've had so many deep experiences where I've had to been forced to listen. And the beautiful thing is, this is my favorite story: is the ancestors are like tricksters.
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
sometimes yeah.
yeah.
But
for me, for me, it was like this beautiful experience where I'm into production, so I'm a filmmaker, and one day I just thought, wow, I want to make a film about you know myself, and it was all about me and my people, and so. I decide, I call up all my friends. I'm like, guys, let's just do it. Let's just take a road trip and come with me to the Eastern Cape, where my father's lineage is from, my father's mother's lineage is from, my mother's lineage from, and my mother's father's lineage is from. So they agreed. And we drove, and here I am, this filmmaker, thinking that I'm just about to make an incredible project, you know. And I sat with my grandmothers and my grandfathers. I sat with my uncles and my aunts. I sat with wisdom keepers within my lineages who told me stories, who truly told me stories of who I am and what I am, where I'm from, and the type of people that I walk besides. The lineage and the power of the lineage, the most fascinating one was learning that, one of my great, 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 many times removed uh, grandfathers worked with Ushaka Zulu. His name was Undlela Sompisi, you know. So it was just beautiful to learn those sorts of things, and also to learn that there's just deep medicine that resides within my lineage. There were many healers that have walked this path and have done incredible things. Medicine men that could heal just about anything and everything. Um, People that were had the power to be able to transform you just by their presence. Leaders that could stand and speak, and the room would shake. A relationship to animals where they would speak to them and they would show up, they would assist. They were like totems, the guides, they would guide us. Oh, and the connection to the land, and the many rituals where they would go up to the mountains and pray because there was a time where there was no rain and the rains would come down. The rains would be with them, they would walk beside the rains, and the harvest would happen as a result of all these rituals and ceremonies. And I learned so much. It was just like an incredible initiation. Here I'm thinking I'm here to just film something and it's going to be great and look great for TV and stuff like that, or whatever it is. But in
Mm.
essence, what they were doing was they were inviting me into my being and my essence and who I am. And so when I say I have had to relearn and unlearn a lot of things, and it's the funniest thing because education is what we all strive for. And I found that many of the elders were not educated according to the Western system. They were educated in ways that go beyond that. I mean, I'm talking about doctors and professors in philosophy, in wisdom that is just that no textbook can hold. That is so profoundly life changing. You know, who don't even know how to speak English. You
Yeah.
know, and for me, that was my greatest learning. And I always say every time I go back home to my rural villages, that is my university. I don't need what I've learned. What I've learned from these guys is worth way more than I could have possibly ever paid anyone in any institution to learn. For me,
Yeah.
that's my learning ground. That's my space where I can tell you of ceremonies, of rituals. I can tell you how to come back towards yourself. I can help you to realign with your ancestors. I can do so much. And it's not me, it's just my people. It's what
Yeah.
we carry, it's the medicine and the gift that they embody, that they transmit.
It sounds like there is a depth that is less like whoosh, coming through you. So like you really embody the wisdom, right? And wisdom, maybe I think it's not the textual object knowledge as they would be called. We would call it in the Western part of the world. I think that like, okay, have you read this books? But something way beyond that. And as you were speaking about your real education, the relearning and unlearning, I got stuck with one expression, which is like when spirit or ancestors or the word as it is alive reclaims you like a surge of wave coming and taking what is theirs to inhabit it.
I don't believe that.
You don't believe that?
No, I don't believe that the ancestors reclaim, you know?
Okay.
I truly don't. And this is you'll have to excuse me, but I'll use words. This is the dogma that is given to us to take on.
Yes,
Uh,
please. Please
you
correct
know,
me.
I, I,
Absolutely.
I do believe that there is no ancestors coming to reclaim us. There is so we could go many ways, but there's a choice and a willingness.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Thank you for the correction. There is a choice and there is a willingness.
Because both parties have to be in alignment.
Exactly.
And so I
Exactly.
have to want it just as much as they do. And for me, it's a choice. Honestly a choice, and I've seen it. Some people will say I had no choice, but if you look at your life and what life was presenting to you, this was your destiny. This is what you were called to do. And you can do many readings that will prove to you that at some point this had to happen, you know,
Yes.
but you have to awaken to that. And the ancestors or the spirit just waits for that moment. You have to align yourself, and then they will align with you. Then it becomes a beautiful relational aspect. You see, in many cosmologies, and especially in mine, there's this fearful thing that words like reclaiming and bad
Yeah.
things will happen to you. And yes, but those are not bad things. Those are just simply symptoms of the great awakening.
Yeah.
Those are
I think,
symptoms.
yeah. I think I did not intend to use the word in the way
Oh,
of
no, no.
no, grabbing and taking away or forcing something, but in the context of rehabiting a lost connection,
Mhm, mhm.
something like that. But I thank you for the correction because I think it's really important and brings a lot of light into the consciousness that we use when we speak about anything, the words that we take and use, because words have a power. So it
Yes.
also creates a connection with the things consciously or unconsciously. And what you just said actually brought me the question that what happens if someone denies the call? So if you would have not taken or have chosen to answer the call, what would have happened?
Many things, and so from my experience, because like I said, there's a willingness. I'll tell you from my experience personally. My mom was supposed to have done what I did. My father was supposed to have done what I did, and many other people in my lineage were supposed to have gone into initiation to become a sangoma and done all these things. And so in my learning and in my teachings, and I've got two older brothers and one younger brother, and many family members who were supposed to have walked this path that I'm walking, that I chose to walk. And so I sat with my ancestors the one time, and it was just like I was so angry and so frustrated because why me? And why did everybody else get a pass, And because it's a hard life, it's not easy because everything gets shaken from you. Like I said, the relearning and unlearning phase, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And so my whole thing was when I sat in their council, they said the following words, which I'll never forget, which made me forgive and find peace is one, they said that many of those who were called could not take on what was called for them because of circumstance and situation. You know, so we just came from South Africa where there was this great oppressive state of apartheid, where uh, reclaiming anything which is of ancestral veneration, of practice, of whatever, would equal jail time, would equal being beaten, would equal being. Oof, it was a destructive phase. In fact, they've still got a bill today, which I'm hoping they'll change, called the Witchcraft Act, just for practicing who and what you are, you know? And so there was this wave of ancestors that really set me down with the greatest amount of empathy and love. And I was just crying. I was like, whoa. um, because I held this anger towards all those that should have but didn't. But it's also circumstantial. And then they showed me something within myself, and the seeds that were planted within me through my incarnation in this lifetime was the strength to carry all of that, because not all of us are strong enough to hold the path. The path is not easy, and it's not for all of us. And so there's two levels. The first one is the ancestors have a beautiful way of finding the right ones, you know, because they can see and they know. And this is why I say it's so relationship level based for me, not dictatorial. It's like, oh, you have to call, you must. No.
No, no, no.
Yeah, no, it's important I speak like that because there's cosmologies that believe in that sort of way of being, and that's the fear behind it, especially from where I come from is the Sangoma. It's not a relational aspect with spirit, but it's a you must do this in order for this to happen. It's transactional versus relational. And so my work that I am birthed in this lifetime to do is really work on the relationship aspect. It's two. It takes two for us to be able to work together to amplify the voice of spirit. They will come down, the ancestors, and ask. I must be ready to receive the messages, and align myself. And if I feel like, well, I'm not ready, that's okay. Your children will be the ones that take it on.
Yeah, someone always takes it on,
Mm.
isn't it that?
Hmm.
And-
Yeah,
yeah. And
it is.
how to your experience, how does the ancestor know who's going to be the one?
Ooh, that's such a beautiful question. I've had many conversations about that as well. How do they know who's going to be the one? Well, for me, I think remember when I speak of destiny, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
when I speak of destiny, we go into the ancestral council before you're even born. There's decisions that were made. There's conversations that were had in your name and of your name. Um, and the reality is all of us have a calling, and my calling is to walk the spiritual path. My brothers is to support me, you know? And so, because they knew that in order for me to be where I am, I need someone that's going to be able to open up the ways so that it can happen. And from a cultural perspective, it's so beautiful because from our culture, what happens is that everyone has a role. And I teach about this. It's like everyone has a role. I mean, some people are born to be peacekeepers, initiated to just keep the peace within the lineage. Other people are born to be um, leaders or elders. They would walk into the space and create that. And each ancestor knows the role. And other people are born to be cultural custodians, those who carry the lineage and the stories and share it and make sure that it's kept. And others are called to be spiritualists and healers. And so all of us are called one way or the other. Not all of us have the same calling or the same anointing, you know?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so the beauty is that they know and they bring down assistance, you know? Different ancestors come down with you who lead and guide you on your path, who make sure you meet all the right people, who ensure that in your being you ignite the peacekeeper, the the cultural custodian, and the elder. You awaken others because it's not one. Like I said, everything is interconnected, interdependent. So, in you stepping into your role as the spiritualist or the healer, you help others to step into their role too. And it co facilitates this ecosystem where we all operate in a communal way of being, because that's the way to reclaim the wisdom. That's the way to remember. It's not about all of us becoming the healers. No, yours might be just to keep the peace, because you're good with people and you communicate effectively. Yours might be to be the elder, bring people together. That's what you do. Yours might be to remember the stories of the ancients because you are the one who has to pass it on. The family tree, keep the log, whatever it might be. Or yours might be to the one who communicates between this world and the other world. So it's really about identifying your role, playing your role, empowering others to do the same, not by talking, but just by being the example.
Yes, and I think this is one of the strongest medicine, especially for the Western culture, because there everything is about doing and acting or being someone whom you may not be,
Hmm.
like putting in masks and wanting to be someone in that context. Why what you're speaking about is really connecting to who you really are and take that essence forward, like that ignition, allow that to become a flame and find your space in the web of life in a way that would be like Ubuntu, if I
Yes,
understand well. No, like really having your own space and just use yourself to be you, nothing else, basically.
yes.
But the Western culture is really about utility, usefulness, and many ways when we can't see the usefulness of something, that's like tossed away. So that's like garbage. And I think that in some ways, this is what we have done or our people have done with all those rituals and honoring of the ancestors that white people have also and the Western culture had also. So there is a great disconnect. And one of my missions, and this is why we are here, is to kind of like ring the bell is that, hey, we need to turn to our people because our people are waiting. And I do believe that there is a connection. And as you said, a reciprocity in that connection that needs to be brought back Just as we speak today about, I don't know, yoga or anything that maybe 20 years ago was not that talked about or spoken about. So this is like, how can we, in the Western culture, come back to that relationship with the land, with the animals, with the word, with the ancestors? And I think that what you said, Litha, that the ancestors actually are helping us in that. So if they kind of know who we are and helping us to meet the people who we need to meet, all those difficult challenges that bring us back to who we are in a way, maybe this is what we have on our table today, also worldwide and in our personal lives, in our community lives, is like how to reconnect with what has been lost. My question is, what is the role of the ancestors? Because this is how I met you. So we met in ancestral medicine. You were one of the persons in my trainings. You were helping us. And I know that you're a Sangoma, you're a healing person, you're a medicine person. And culturally, that's, I think, is something really important because becoming medicine or becoming able to be medicine to someone else, it means that there has been a transformation of toxins into something that can be offered now to others to heal. If I understand well.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say, what would be the path, especially for the Western type culture, to do that transition from being toxic to becoming the medicine?
Mm. That's a big question, but I'll take it, bit by bit. I think the first step is what I always speak of in life is know thyself. That's always the first step. Know thyself. Become intimately knowledgeable about who you are. Uh, what are your likes? What are your dislikes? What is the impact? I always say for me the greatest and quickest way to know who you are is step into a room with people and be who you are. Listen to the feedback that comes your way. You know, because that shows what you bring. There's
Mm-hmm.
certain people that walk into a space where all of a sudden it's so peaceful. It's just, I don't know what it is about you because your being is the one that is speaking, not your words. Your words don't matter because anyone can speak. What
Yeah.
is your, what is your impact and influence when you walk into the room? How do people experience you? Um, and that comes through knowing thyself. The moment you know yourself, you know what energy you bring into the space and you know what medicine you carry.
Mm-hmm.
Just from a simple individualistic level, is just have an intimate relationship with yourself. With yourself, just know yourself, spend time with yourself, you know. And then once you've done that, spend time in nature because nature speaks, nature allows, nature is open, and you don't even have to be spiritual. I mean, just take a hike, you'll feel things, you'll know things, you'll hear things. You'll come back feeling, oh, that felt so good. That's great because that's what is happening on an unconscious level. What's happening is that the spirits are slowly communicating and relating to you in many ways, you know. And once that's done, I would say study your people because I don't care what you say. At some point in life, everything was intact. Go back 500, 600. Even if you're from the West, I can guarantee you that there was lineages that lived in community that were held well, that it was not about the individual. Because how does a village thrive if it's all about the individual? It can't.
Mm-hmm.
It will not. And so if you learn about your people, and simply by going to grandfathers and asking them stories, tell me about the stories that you had with, who was your grandfather? That for me is the era that I call the ancestral detective. You have to become like an ancestral detective and learn the stories. Learn the stories and the medicine of your people because you might carry it unknowingly, and you might embody it unknowingly. you know. And so we don't even have to talk about the ancestors. These are simple things that any human being can do, that will help them to empower themselves. And you know what happens? Like I said, the ancestors are great tricksters. Somewhere along the line, you'll start having these weird dreams. Somewhere along the line, you'll start meeting these weird people like Anna. Somewhere along the line, you'll find magical experiences unfolding. You'll find someone in the middle of the forest just doing a ceremony and ritual, and you're drawn to it. You're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think that's a key. Things that we're drawn to. Like there is like a magnet out there in the world, and each of us has a different other magnet hidden inside us. So it takes us somewhere, I think. If we
Yes.
learn to follow that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's
Yeah.
your true north. It's your true north. But it
Yeah.
starts off with the inquisitive mind. I just love to call it the ancestral detective eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so the more that you step into that, the more that life will start revealing itself for you. I always say that the greatest journey towards remembrance of self starts off with curiosity. Just
Oh,
be
yes.
inquisitive. Just be inquisitive. Just ask questions about who am I? Oh, that's a good start. It's a big start. You know,
That's a big start.
it is. It is. It is.
Yeah.
And what am I here to do? You know,
That's another big one. Yeah.
but the beautiful thing is, if that scares you, then you're at the right place, because then you
Mm.
can truly figure it out and start asking questions about that and deepening it. It's a beautiful journey. Who am I? What am I here to do? Because that's destiny. That's your calling. That's your purpose. That's what
Yeah.
ignites the opening of spirit. Ah, finally, he's asking us. Let's all come and share with him. you know, because it's not
Yeah,
about you
Python
in
is
that moment.
asking exactly, exactly. That's like it brings in my mind Viktor Frankl, who was the creator of logotherapy,
Mhm.
and the question life is asking us
Mm.
that question. Like I think it asks all of us, and I love how you put it. The questions like who am I, or what is my destiny? Why I am here on this earth? Like maybe, as Shri Maharshi said, another very wise man from India. The only question that is to be asked is, "Who am I?"
Mm.
Because that kind of like brings all the other questions in a shade. Like, okay, if you don't know who you are, then that's a difficult path. So maybe it's really like a wake up call to all of us to come back, as you said, first relationship with our own selves,
Mm. Mm.
and sometimes along the way, as we spoke about it, it's difficult because we may not like all of us, but we are many things, like light and shadow and all the things all together, all the rainbow colors all together. So it's not it's not that about the easiness of hiding, and I want to say like that, but it's the easiness of being, because once you know what you are, who you are, then the difficulty is in the hiding.
Mm.
And I think that also brings us a great power of launching forward and finding the next step to allow that being come to flourish and find its path to a fuller existence. And that brings us into relationship with others, I think, or the right persons for that particular being who exists in this very moment.
Mm. I just want to share with you something that dropped on me. Uh,
Please.
Knowledge of self is understanding of the ancestors. That's
Yes.
very important because we carry their patterns, we carry their legacy, we carry everything. And so uh, I love that. What you mentioned is because the deeper that you go into yourself, the more you realize how, and this word is used very loosely. I need to find a better word. Your power and magnificence, which scares you a
Yeah,
lot,
yeah.
which pulls you back into the hiding, but also which brings up the trauma, you know, which scares you, which brings you back towards the hiding. But the beautiful thing about this is the fact that when you discover those things, it invites you into community, like you said, because how do you know how to work with something that's new to you? You
Mm.
don't, and so you reach out to communities that have mastered this. For me, it's all about working with the elders. I love the ideology that in this day and in this time, We need elders more than anything else. And there's too many senior citizens in this world, but not enough elders. Too many
Yes.
people that grow old but don't become elders, or rather don't take up the baton of being an elder.
Hmm.
You know, too many. And so we reach out to the elders that have walked the journey and perhaps found an understanding through the knowledge of self, into the knowledge of the great all, into the wisdom of the ancestors, into the wisdom of the spirits. We reach out because, trust me, every human being has got people that have been placed out there for them.
Absolutely.
There's not even, you will never struggle to find them if you're in alignment. I can guarantee you, because nowadays education and knowledge is so easily accessible, you know. And I started off with just books because I didn't know how to get to uh, this place or that person. So I just started to read the books of the people that I admired and I looked up to, and that was a great way. And I called them my elders because literally these are people that had knowledge and wisdom, that transferred that knowledge and wisdom. And then I started to meet the people and being in community. The more I deepen myself, the knowledge of self, the understanding of self, the understanding that the ancestors are here too. Oh, wow, there's work for me to do now because I can feel how I interact with the world is how they showed up in the world. Wow, okay, there's patterns now that I need to work on. And therefore, I started to clear the ancestral trauma and clear the ancestral burdens that they carried, which I carry because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
passed down. I can't
Yeah.
avoid the fact that it's passed down. So therefore, I am them and they are me. And so I started to work through all of that. And then all of a sudden, everything opened up. And for me, it was like I got to travel to spaces and places that I never even dreamed were possible. I got to meet individuals that I never even dreamed. I got to be in ritual and ceremony with elders that are just like phenomenal, like global leaders that are doing incredible work in this world, you know, who who mentor me, who teach me, who guide me, you know? And so that's what happens when you open up yourself with that inquisitive eye, with this ancestral detective mode. And you don't even have to have all of the answers. Trust me, the time will come where everything is revealed. Yours is to constantly keep moving forward and following
Mm.
that calling and following that, I call them the breadcrumbs, or following that voice or that guidance. I just have to get on the plane and go to, I don't know, Sierra Leone. I don't know what is there, but I just have to go. Something is pulling me there. And then you go, and then you find out why you're there as soon as you're there. Or at the
Yeah.
end, just when you're about to board your flight back to your country, you're like, "Oh, that's why I had to be here. Because I had to
Yeah.
meet her and do this and do this. Is that what you. And then you find that that was always an ancestral longing within your lineage. That was always an ancestral desire, for you to connect with a part of yourself that existed elsewhere, but also for you to close the gap of the work that the ancestors of past could not complete.
Mm. Oh,
No,
yeah.
that's the medicine. That's the medicine we hold, and that's the gift we bring to this world.
I love that. Closing the gap. That sounds like the most beautiful thing, I think. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because in the eyes of my mind, it just appear like a land calling for someone
Mm,
since hundreds of years. And how does it feel when that bloodline comes back in one of the descendants to a certain land that has known someone from that lineage? And how if the
mm,
land still remembers the blood.
mm. Yes. Oof, that's a powerful imagery. I'm just feeling that all over my body.
Yeah.
Oof, that's delicious. Mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
mm, yes.
And I know that my body remembers that, but I never lived that. So that's like I'm a wanderer. So I've been traveling a lot of places in the world, and I haven't found that, I don't know, the deep connection, but I know what is it. So it's really interesting because
Mm.
why would I know? I don't know. My people know it.
Yeah, and it's
Always.
just, oh, I could tell you stories about being a wanderer. It's the most beautiful place. Um, I guess for me, the essence of the great wanderer is to have an embodied sense and to follow the yes, because there's a
Yeah,
yes that comes. And
exactly.
and following the yes could be big, you know. So for instance, I recently said this to a friend of mine. It's about following the yes, but fighting the no's, because the
Mm,
no's will come. Because there will never be a full embodied yes without the no's. The no's are the challenges that come along the way, the
absolutely.
people that try to stop you, all these obstacles that come along the way. Those are the no's that are inviting you back towards away from your destiny, away from your center. But if you have a full embodied yes, trust that and fight through all the no's.
Absolutely. And that's another key on the path, the trust. The
Mm,
trust that you will find another rock to put your feet on.
mhm,
And
mhm,
then the next one, and then the next one, like milestones in a way,
mm,
building
mm,
an unknown road. But I think it's worse
mm,
to try that, to bring curiosity and do the steps. Say whatever is calling. Well, we need to be like a curious dog, a bit like running around and sniffing around. That
mhm,
is it safe? Shall I follow? And so on. But once there is the yes, and that's the power of the yes. We really, as you say, we need to know our no's as well,
mm,
and to put those limits where they belong. So our yes may have that full power and joy when we finally give into it.
yes. Mm, absolutely.
Hmm. What would be, Lita, like a last drop of wisdom or sharing or invitation for maybe someone who meets with this framework of ancestral wisdom, or that actually there is a large spirit world around them, to bring them closer to themselves?
Hmm. I'm immediately taken back to the ideology of be like a child.
Mm-hmm.
Look at
Mm-hmm.
the world and wonder, explore, experience, stretch yourself, allow. Yes, there'll be times where it hurts and you burn yourself, but what does a child do when they fall somewhere? They get right back up and they keep going.
Yes, curiosity is just
Yes.
crazy. Yeah.
Oh, because I've found in my journey that there is nothing that brings the ancestors greater joy than a willingness of the soul. Just a willingness. Even if you don't get it right, keep going. Even if it makes no sense, keep going. You know? But learn to connect first with the full embodied yes, then go with that. Then go with that. Even if it's difficult, because the challenges you face are often not the challenges that are of you or from you, but they are ancestral, ancestrally linked. And so when I say filling the gap or closing the gap, it means can you overcome that which they could never, because circumstances and situations just simply could not allow. So have a childlike curiosity, have a childlike wonder, have a childlike willingness to play
Mhm.
and have
So
fun.
important. Yes. Oh, thank you, Lita. I think childlike curiosity to play and have fun, these are actually beautiful blessings to embody as well.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
I feel them. Thank you so much for offering your time and presence for us. And thank you for being here. Thank you for having stayed with us this far. And we'll see you next time.
Yes,
Bye. Thank you, Lita.
yes. Blessings to you.